Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Murder in Retrograde. We have missed you. It's been a little bit. We're moving things around, trying new formulas, and hopefully they work better and people enjoy them. Like Rooney, who just walked past Jenna, our guest star.
Yeah, so we're for right now until we kind of get our feet on the ground. We are going to be every other week instead of weekly, just kind of going forward. I would say for maybe the next like 2 months. And then also just in other housekeeping news, if you will. If you watch us on the YouTube, what we have started doing to make it a little bit easier for you all, if you're not necessarily interested in all of the topics that we're covering, we are doing it where it shows on the very bottom of the screen. You can skip to different sections, and in the description, it tells you exactly what all the sections are. So you can kind of bounce around there and listen to what you really want to listen to, and skip things that maybe just aren't for you. So,
Yeah, I know I listen to so many podcasts, and a lot of times people are like, why would I watch it? But sometimes I only have my computer and I'm not necessarily watching it. I just have it on, and that menu thing is like super handy. So
yeah,
check us out, why don't you?
come say hi over on the YouTube.
Yes. So
All right.
let's get into our first topic, which is our favorite, true crime. And Jenna, you have a story about something in good old Orange County.
It's kind of interesting. There's a lot going on around these parts right now. It's very weird. I feel like my local news is like kind of popping up a lot more lately than it has been. But specifically, an Orange County deputy sheriff has recently, his name's Steve Hortz, Hortz. Hortz. Maybe I'm saying that incorrectly, but he was a 12-year veteran of Orange County, and he was just in court for this is so wild to me. But anyways, he's been in court for stealing from dead men and women. So what does that mean? So in July 2020, Steve was conducting a welfare check in Yorba Linda, where he found the dead body of a man who died from natural causes, like nothing weird there. But in the weeks after the man's death, Steve was caught on surveillance cameras, him walking through the home and stealing $27,000 worth of firearms and other items. And it doesn't specify what the other items were.
That's the most important part. Why wouldn't they tell you what the other items are?
I'm just confused. And then it's also like, I would imagine you steal firearms to sell them. So it's like a cop is literally just like putting more guns in the black market. Like that is so wild to me.
But it's so common. It's so common.
See, I'm so naive to this stuff. I was like, oh my God, you're supposed to be part of the solution, not the problem.
Yeah, but there's always bad apples in every kind of field that there is. But just imagine having an evidence locker that has stacks of cash and drugs,
guns,
God knows that
everything.
Cops do not make enough money. Cops don't make enough money. Firefighters don't make enough money. Teachers don't have enough money. So when people are desperate and something is there, I mean, obviously it's awful. And you think cops should not be doing that, but it happens a lot.
It's wild. So it gets a little interesting. So that happened, but he got pretty caught right away. Like he was arrested in September 2020, and they allowed him to resign instead of being fired. And then he was indicted on 3 felony counts of second-degree burglary and 2 felony counts of grand theft of a firearm. But then in August 2020, he had gone to, so before he got caught basically, but they didn't know when they indicted him on this count that came up kind of later, if that makes sense. So they found out back in August that he had gone to another home in Yorba Linda of a dead woman. Doesn't specify how she died. It doesn't sound like anything, crazy went on, probably another natural cause kind of situation. And he stole 3 credit cards from this woman. And he attempted to do like online purchases. Most of them didn't go through, but then they added counts on to him. So on Tuesday, sorry, go ahead.
That sounds like somebody who's desperate. I mean, clearly in this day and age, you can't walk around where there are cameras or take credit cards without instantly being caught. So it sounds like he was desperate.
Yeah, the credit card thing is interesting. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, you're a cop. You should know like how quickly you're going to get caught. And it doesn't sound like he was trying to pay a bill with it. He was like buying things, is what the articles kind of made it sound like. So I don't know. And also, like, let's remember 2020 was a wild freaking year. So, like, who knows what was going on? So on Tuesday, March 1st, 2022, Steve pleaded guilty to 1 count each felony, second-degree burglary, felony count theft of a firearm, misdemeanor burglary, misdemeanor identity theft, and misdemeanor grand theft by embezzlement. He was placed, so it said 2 things. So I was a little bit confused because that he was placed on 2 years of formal probation, but then it also said he had 120 days in jail. So I'm assuming it's 120 days and then he goes on 2 years probation.
Exactly.
And he had faced a maximum of 4 years. So if he was going to be convicted, he would have. So he obviously pled out, and this is like what he was left with. But
and then he can't be a cop anymore, right?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, they let him
resign, but he's also been on the force for 12 years. I'm sure this is the thing. They're probably going to let him retire in good standing. So he'll still get his pension or whatever. I mean, I don't know.
That's interesting. I'd like to follow up and see what happens. And if that is so, I would think the same thing, that they would find a way to still pay him. But, what a weird case, like he knew he was going to get caught.
It's very bizarre, and not to be, but like, you're a cop and then you're going to be making crimes in Orange County where you serve, thus you're going to be in jail in Orange County. Like, that is not where you want to be.
Or it's so corrupt that he was getting away with it because people were covering for him, or it was a larger operation, or he just thought he could get out of it. Or he's on drugs and not thinking clearly. Who knows?
So crazy.
That's a crazy story, though. I mean, always Orange County. And then the next story I have is Canada, which, you never really expect to hear really awful stories in Canada. But this is a notorious case that was finally solved. Some of you may have heard of it if you're very into true crime. It's often referred to as Babes in the Woods. So on January 15th, 1953, this is according to People magazine, the skeletal remains of 2 boys were discovered by a groundskeeper who was clearing brush in Vancouver's Stanley Park. They were bludgeoned to death by a hatchet, then covered by a woman's coat. Police believed they were killed 5 years earlier. So like the coat covering them, remember that usually means some, like, them, or right, you don't want to see them, that sort of thing. So now, nearly 70 years later, the boys were finally identified as 7-year-old Derek D'Alton and 6-year-old half-brother David, descendants of Russian immigrants who arrived in Canada around the early 1900s. The children lived in Vancouver and had a relative who lived near Stanley Park. So Vancouver Police Department investigator Dale Weidman said, quote, "These murders have haunted generations of homicide investigators, and we are relieved to now give these children a name and to bring some closure to this horrific case. Although significant folklore has surrounded the case for years, we must not forget that these were real children who died a tragic and heartbreaking death." So they didn't even know who these children were. That's why it was like such a big story. But now we find out they were immigrants. And so let me keep going and then maybe it will make more sense. Investigators said the killer was a close relative who died around 25 years ago. Weidman said, quote, "After 7 decades as a cold case, we presumed that the person who killed Derek and David had likely passed away. But at this stage in the investigation, it was never about seeing someone charged for their crimes. It was always about giving these boys a name and finally telling their story."
Did they give a motive for what had or any kind of idea of why this all happened?
So the way that they got this break was in 2021, after police started working with a company called Redgrave Research Forensic Services, another amazing forensic genetic genealogy company. And they're based in Massachusetts. They uploaded the DNA sample from each of the boys' skulls to GEDmatch, which, is how we found the Golden State Killer. Yeah. And they were able to identify maternal grandparents for one of the boys and constructed a family tree and compared all of the victims' DNA to people who had submitted their DNA at the time. and from private companies, now people
Yeah.
doing it on their own. And they found a distant relative of the boys who still lived in a Vancouver suburb. And his last name is Rodriguez, which I found interesting. I mean, obviously they could have married, but this was like a Russian family.
Yeah.
And the story had been handed down to him by saying that the boys were taken away by social services. And they had been removed. And then there was another story that they had been removed by the ministry, so some sort of church. And even though this particular family member they found did their best to talk about the boys and try to get the story out, their only response from family was silence. Nobody wanted to talk about it. The absence of the boys was never discussed. They told them somebody took them away, and then they never talked about it again. So it sounds like it was just a family secret.
Why? 6 and 7-year-olds? Like, that's so crazy.
It's really crazy. There's simply no reason for it. And it was on the mother's side. Oh,
that's terrible, dude. I mean, I'm so glad that it's amazing what technology can do for us, or science, what it can do for us these days. It's amazing. I mean, 70 years is what you said? This happened 70 years.
Yeah.
And I'm sure by that point, it's almost like a distant memory, because it's like a generation or whatever has gone by. And to then have people knocking on your door and be like, oh, by the way, those kids that were in your family that you thought went off to social services, well, actually, it's totally not right.
What do you think about that? Like, these people, like, now they have that to think of, whereas before they just thought like the boys were taken away. Do you think that they always should find the killer and they should always continue trying to find it? Or
absolutely. I mean,
yeah,
I don't think it should, just because time has passed or whatever, or it might cause more harm than good, but people deserve some sort of justice, whether it's just having their name and their story out there, or people being held accountable. Yeah. And
I totally agree with you, but there's always those people that come out and say, oh, the rest of their life, like the Golden State Killer, he's a great dad, he's a great grandfather, which that could be true, or that they could have that perception, but that doesn't erase what they did. And I agree with you. I think it doesn't matter if the perpetrator is alive or dead. You should continue searching for justice.
Absolutely. That is so crazy. But I'm glad that they found out who they were. It just breaks my heart. That age, it just, obviously we have children that age, and they're still babies. I'm like, God almighty, that is just awful.
I can't think about it for too long. And just have the thought of having a missing child or something like that is so, I just can't imagine the pain, which is like the next story that we're going to talk about, a missing girl. And I hope that they find something soon, because time is ticking.
Yeah. So again, kind of in our backyard, well, your old backyard. So there's been a missing teen. Her name is, and Brittany, you might have to take the name, Taylor Pantalemon.
I mean, Pantalemon, I guess is what I would say. It's a very pretty name.
It's very pretty, and she's very cute. So she's a 16-year-old, and she was last seen on the evening of February 21st and is believed to have left her house at some point during the night, and she was reported missing the next morning at 7:30 a.m. Also, I did find out, just because we've talked about this a lot, kind of a side note, there's no waiting period in California. You can report people missing as soon as you feel that they're missing.
Good to know.
Yeah. So a missing persons poster was created by her family, and it says Taylor is a cheerleader at OC All-Stars in California. She was in Vegas at Jams and returned home, which is, sorry for you non-cheer.
Yeah, explain that to me. What is that?
It's a cheer competition. So she just came home from Vegas after being in a cheer competition.
But does everyone go to that, or is it like the top of the top?
It just depends. It's like soccer. You sign up for tournaments, kind of the same idea. You sign up for different, and then it depends. You can go longer if you or stay in it. You score high enough. But if you just anyways. So
it's funny how you have to speak in cheerleading terms, and you have to like translate it to soccer for me, and then I'm like, oh, got it. But it works.
So she returned home Monday night and her mom said goodnight to her. And when the mom woke up in the morning, her daughter was gone. The living room window was open and Taylor does not have her phone. So her vehicle and her phone were left behind. And then it just gives her description. She's 5'1", dirty blonde hair, brown eyes, and they just are asking for any information. Even like my social media from people that I know that live down that way, are saying, listen, like, even if you're just a friend and you know that she's safe and she's just hiding out, can you just anonymously like let her parents know that like she's safe and she's with a friend, even if she just needs her space, or for whatever reason. And nothing that I saw said there was any sort of fight or argument that would have made her want to leave on her own volition, but
it's so weird because so she lived in Ladera, which is like it's like the Truman Show. It's like a perfect suburb. It's very safe.
In the article I read, it said this has never happened in the ranch family. Like that's what they call like the ranch. It's like, it's like this little island of like, it's its own place.
It's just like Desperate Housewives. It looks like a movie set. It's a beautiful area, very, very safe. It's right next to my hometown where I grew up. But I asked so many people that live there, that still live there, and they were like, I haven't even heard about it. So hopefully it's just a teenager blowing off steam and they will find her quickly.
I hope so. I mean, this happened on the 21st. Today's the 3rd. I mean,
it's a long time.
It is. It's especially for someone to not just be like, hey, listen, like she's safe and she's just needs a minute. Like the fact that it sounds like from everything I was trying to look and read that there's been no word. It's just terrifying.
I wonder if that's something good to talk to your kids about. Like, if somebody runs away, if somebody's in danger, you will not get in trouble if you come and tell me, because
100%.
I can totally understand wanting to be a loyal friend and being, and also not wanting the cops to come to you, imagine if a girlfriend is out there and she knows that she went to meet a guy. Oh, it would be awful.
No, it's a lot of like layers to it, but I think my hope is like, just be honest with me, like, and I will, I'll help you navigate this, or I'll support you, or I'll make sure the word gets to the right person without you being involved. Like, it's important for us to, let our kids know to always do the right thing. And
because that was the biggest thing to me. I was always afraid to tell my parents things, not because of how they would react, but I didn't want to upset them. I didn't want to like put another thing on their plate because they always seemed so busy. And I think that would be a good conversation to have. But anyway, moving along.
If you know something, say something.
After we finished recording this episode, the Pantalemon family had announced that Taylor had made it home. No other details have been given at this time as to what has happened to her in the last few days, but we did want to update you all and just let you know that Taylor is home.
Okay. So this is so great. So let me just backtrack by saying I thought for sure you would be into this story because you have this wild obsession with plane crashes, not them crashing, but like finding out the reasons why and like what happened to them and all of these things. So in the last week, there have been 4 random helicopter crashes within like law enforcement, basically. So first one, well, not the first one. This isn't actually the order. I think the first one was actually in Miami. A helicopter went down because I remember this being the first one I'd heard about.
Right.
And a helicopter went down under unknown circumstances. 3 people were aboard. The models, it was a Robinson Helicopter Company model R44 and R442. They're popular and have been subject of scrutiny by both the National Transportation Safety Board and the Federal Aviation Administration. They give no reason as to why this happened. It says it's still under investigation.
Wasn't it right off of the beach, kind of like
in the water?
Yeah. So people saw.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So it fell in the water, and I don't believe anyone was hurt on this one. I think they all got out okay.
Oh, that's
good. Which is crazy. It was like literally a day or two later, it happened here in California, like down the road from us. So Huntington Beach Police Department they had a helicopter. They were responding to a disturbance in a Newport neighborhood. It was 6:30 at night on a Saturday, and it crashed into the narrow strip of water in between, excuse me, Newport Bay, between Lido Island and Balboa Peninsula. So you being from here, you know how kind of, I mean, you're close. When that happens, you're close to the beach. Like it's a shallow-ish water right there.
Yeah, I think that they were going after a noise complaint, which is typical. People were barbecuing and being loud on a weekend. And so they were really low to the ground. In the area that they're in, it's like I don't even know if that's it's a man-made island, right? It's very shallow, extremely shallow water. And it's very populated. Houses go all the way up to the water. So the second this happened, a ton of surfers went in to help, which was wonderful.
No, it was amazing. So we'll have images here on YouTube, and if you want to go look at them after, if you're just listening, but I like just hearing stories, because obviously I'm in a lot of these, like we live very close to Huntington Beach, so I'm in a lot of these like mom groups and things, and I see kind of like local stuff going on. But it was like, it was amazing. Like once they hit the ground, anyone who was on the beach, like basically ran in, like paddle boarders, boaters, like pulling these guys out of the helicopter. Just amazing to see like the community. And then I forget, it was like I don't know, mayor or someone was saying like they had never seen that kind of like quick and efficient response, and they were really proud and all these things. But there were 2 officers, and one of them unfortunately did pass away, and the other one was in critical condition, but I think it's fine now. But it's, again, there was no like, there was no reason given for why this happened. And then
which is interesting, because the NTSB has to investigate any sort of crash, as far as I know. I wonder if they're going to release, because these are military, or not military, police crashes, if they will release that to the public. You know?
Maybe not. Maybe. And I'm sure now that this has happened more, not once, not twice, but now 4 times, I'm sure there's going to be a bigger investigation of like what's happening. Are we missing? I mean, I have my own theories, but
how have people not been talking about this?
I don't know.
Like, it's very strange. It's not
so
strange for helicopters to crash. That happens a lot, like sightseeing tours in Kauai, like hitting the mountains. But these are guys who are phenomenal pilots. They're in the,
and they do it every single day. Like literally,
they know what they're doing.
Up every day. They know. So it's like, it's crazy. So then the next one was in Kauai. So after 10 a.m. local time, the helicopter was operated by Croman Corporation, which, quote, provides range support services to the base. So again, like affiliated with law enforcement. A Pacific Missile Range Facility spokesperson said that the helicopter was taking part in a range training operation on the base of Kekah. So the helicopter was taking part in a range training operation on the base of Kekah. What? Your husband's going to be cringing if he hears any part of me trying to.
He doesn't listen to this podcast.
When
it doesn't have dragons and goblins in it, he has absolutely no interest. But wait a second, that Keka, whatever, is on Kauai.
It's on a base. It's on the U.S. Naval Facility base. So anyways, so said that 4 people had died when this civilian contracted helicopter crashed at the U.S. Naval Facility. So again, no reason was given. Very strange. This is literally all within a few days of each other.
Yeah. And again, it's not untypical to hear about it happening with civilians, but in the military and in the police, I would assume they have a different, I could be wrong, but radio system. Like obviously they talk to other people in the sky, but they've got their police radio too. So maybe that's a different frequency, or that's like coming from a different place. But like, what is your theory? You said you have conspiracy.
I feel like my tinfoil hat is on, but I think this could be part of all of these 5G towers, because we did hear of some planes having issues with the towers and not being able, I forget what they couldn't.
Not only that, the Pilot Association of America said that this is like a very serious threat and that they do not want 5G. So you could 1,000,000% be correct. There's tons of pilots that are saying that this is going to affect them.
Yeah, I think it's somehow is affecting like their instruments or their, I don't know. That's my theory, because what else is going to cause 4 crashes in a week of helicopters and the military police? Like it is, and it's not like it's one type of helicopter. It's several different kinds, and they're all having these random crashes. I don't know. So the last one that happened was in Utah. So 2 Black Hawk helicopters crashed between Little Cottonwood Canyon and American Fork Canyon. And according to the Utah National Guard, the 2 UH-60 Black Hawk helicopters crashed during a training accident when it crashed. So at least they're kind of giving like an of what happened. I don't know. So
but Blackhawks, like the Blackhawks are first
those
of all,
are big, right?
So fucking expensive. Yeah, they're the biggest ones that they have, I'm pretty sure. And yes, you would be doing training exercises, and maybe they were going like in and out of the canyons or something, but that doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, let me continue. So it says no crew members were injured in the crash, but both helicopters were damaged, according to the National Guard. And witness videos reviewed by crash investigators show a rotor blade separating from the first Black Hawk and striking the second Black Hawk. But the second helicopter was able to land quickly, and both pilots involved were very experienced. Each Black Hawk typically carries 2 to 4 crew members. And an incident like this is, quote, quite rare.
That is amazing that those pilots landed that. That's really scary, because
flying at you, like
when you mentioned like it being something with the military or having all of those crashes at once, it flashed into my mind because I just watched the Netflix documentary about Boeing and how they had 2 crashes, and immediately they kind of tried to blame the pilots, and pilots were saying like, no, there's something going on. And they literally had changed the aircraft and not told them that they did it, and not told them how to fix a very common issue that they knew was going to come up. So that scares me, of like, maybe our equipment isn't that great or our mechanics aren't that great. How the heck does a rotor
just fly off? Like, that's insane.
But that's how badass our military is, because to be able to land that and nobody got hurt, that's amazing.
Yeah. So, I mean, I hope there's no more of these that happen, but like this literally happened like all this week. So I don't know.
Yeah, do you really want your internet that much faster? If it's like a 50-50, if you're going to make it to your destination and when you go in the air, like, we don't need it that badly, people.
We don't need it. No, we don't need it. We need to slow our rolls, because we're just literally.
Don't get me started, because I think it changes your DNA. So
we should just wear tinfoils during this section. We should put them on.
Tinfoil hat. That's what we should be called.
Okay. Moving right along to some pop culture. Give it to me, Miss Britney.
Okay, so Kim and Kanye. Does anybody know these two? Anybody ever heard of them?
Who is that?
So it's still on and popping. Did you watch Kanye's video that he just released?
Okay, I didn't watch the video, but I have the lyrics in front of me because we must discuss, because
it's okay. But first of all, it's art. But he released a video. I thought it was very funny. It shows Pete Davidson, or somebody who looks like Pete Davidson. It's claymation. It's not real people. Yeah. And he's buried. He's dead. And then roses come out of his head, and he clips those roses and puts them in the truck. And it's the truck that he brought to Kim's house for Valentine's Day. It's so beautiful. Like, he's such a petty Gemini that, like, he obviously tried to do this grand
gesture,
yes, to her, and because she didn't respond, he's like, okay, well, this is what it really was, like, it's so petty and so childish, but I am here for it. I find it fascinating to know.
Okay, I want to read some of these lyrics so people would know if they haven't heard or read it yet so far. So a couple highlights. I'm going to start at the top. So it says, if we go to court, we'll go to court together. Matter of fact, pick up your sis. We'll go to
court together.
And then it says, we'll go to courts, like KOURT, like her sisters together. I watched 4 kids for like 5 hours today. I wear these easy boots everywhere, even in the shower today. I got love for the nannies, but real family is better. The cameras watch the kids. Y'all stop taking the credit. Non-custodial dad, I bought the house next door. What do you think the point of really being rich for? When you give them everything, they only want more. Bougie and unruly, y'all need to do some chores. Rich ass kids, this ain't your mama's house. Climb on your brother's shoulders and get that top ramen out. And it says, God saved me from the crash just so I could beat Pete Davidson's ass. And then it goes, but I thought that was kind of the highlights, if you will, of the.
Do you know what the crash is?
No.
Right. When he was becoming famous, he was in a really bad car accident in Chicago and flipped his car so many times, and his whole jaw broke off and he had to have his jaw wired shut. He shouldn't have survived. But I mean, talk about CTE. He had major brain trauma in this accident, and nobody ever talks about that. But anyway,
I had no idea. That's crazy. But anyway, so
astrologically, it's very interesting because both Kanye and Kim have a Pisces moon, and we just entered a new Pisces moon, and it's a really powerful one because we also have Jupiter there. And so just really quick, Pisces moon they're known for being a little bit psychic, ethereal, creative, overly compassionate, and they really have their emotions come in waves.
I'm smiling because for anyone who doesn't know, my favorite Pisces is sitting right in front of me, Miss Britney's birthday month. So you're like listing all these things. I'm like, yep, that's you. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh, it's not all good. Trust me. But so their emotions come in waves and they shape their perceptions, which totally makes sense with Kanye, right? Like he can't hide his emotions. And they likely are artistic, like a dreamer type of thing. And to avoid total burnout, though, Pisces moons really need to de-stress, and they need to release some of those burdens because they kind of take on everyone's issues. So for the Pisces moons, they really need to find a way to have an outlet. Otherwise, they can lean into drugs, they can fall into depression. It's really important that they're creative, which makes sense for Kanye. It's kind of, we don't see that side of Kim, like, but she's a lot more conservative.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. It's like his therapy, all of his artistry and his thing. It's him de-stressing and like releasing it. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. So, and an interesting part of the Pisces moon is that they're very obsessed with beauty, and they see beauty in all aspects of life. They're very poetic, and they make daily encounters and relationships poetic. It's just like totally Kanye.
That's so crazy because the first thing that comes to my mind is him using like Julia Fox and this Chandra Jones girl as his muse, and like the beauty and like creating looks and all this kind of stuff. It's quite interesting.
Beauty. He's definitely obsessed with it. So why does all this matter that they both have moons in Pisces? The new moon in Pisces is out, and they're having their divorce proceedings, which they already had one yesterday, Jenna, or the day before.
They're officially divorced. It's breaking news. They divorced.
She's single. They're single, but they're not divorced because it's bifurcated because the finances aren't figured out, which are going to be difficult because he's trying to fight the prenup, and it's just their lawyers are going to be making tons of money fighting back and forth.
I was giggling a little bit. I think I sent it to you. I can't remember because the girl that I follow, House and Habit, who followed all the Ghislaine stuff, she was in court for this yesterday, and she said the lawyers were arguing like an earshot of her, and she said one of the things that Kanye's like demanding is that his name gets changed to Ye on everything. Like, it
Yay,
can't be
yeah.
Kanye. It has to be Ye. It can't.
Well, his legal name is Ye.
I know,
So
but
there
like, why
could
is that
be
the hill you want to fall on? Just fucking get a divorce. Like,
because maybe he has an angle and he can come back and say, that's Ye. I'm Kanye.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
not
maybe.
divorced.
That was
Come
the other thing.
on, you gotta think like Kanye.
Well, it's just so funny too, because his other comment, I forget where it came from, but they were saying he's like, well, you can't prove it was me on Instagram, but yeah, he's literally in front of a thing with the notepad being like, it's me, I'm not hacked. It's like, hello, they can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
So wild.
They are an interesting duo, but I'm
so
sure we'll have
interesting.
more information next time.
It's so interesting though, because listen, I don't follow celebrities' astrology signs very much unless it's like the same sign as me. But I think it's so crazy that they have not only the same sign, but then for their divorce to be kind of going through while it's a Pisces moon. I find that to be fascinating.
Well, they're not the same sign. They're the same moon.
Well, same
sign.
Moon. Right.
Yeah.
That's what I
He's
meant.
a Gemini, she's a Libra. Sun. So anyway, that's it for Kim and Kanye. And now we have, well, this is still kind of tied to them, Jenna. You have more information on Lou Taylor.
Okay, well, I'm gonna read some posts, but okay, so Britney Spears. First of all, I love her, huge fan. She has gone a little off her rocker in the last couple years.
You're not down with the naked pictures?
No, I think it's so bad. It's so cringy. Like the last few years, even before she was freed and all this stuff, I would send them to my like other Britney fans a friend of mine. And I would just send her those dancing videos, and both of us are just like, "Oh God, I can't watch. Like, what is she doing?"
I know. Well, it's like she's been frozen since her conservatorship, and she's just thawing, and she still thinks it's the early 2000s. Look at her outfits.
Those I can't. It's so okay. Anyways, so I just want to read these two posts because I think they both got taken down. I feel like I'm just going to leave out names because there's been some legal action to follow this. So just bear with me.
And these are posts made by Britney.
Yeah. So Britney Spears. So the first one was a picture of, I think it's her. I can't even actually tell. It's like a black and white picture. And it says, your self-respect has to be stronger than your feelings. And the person's like pointing at the camera. And her caption says, a week before they sent me away to that fucking place, blank invited me to their offices. They're swinky, suited up bitches, so nice with their quote, we are here to make you feel special. I had lunch with the two people, and I'm not going to say names. They said, Britney, look at that picture on the wall. Look at your picture on the wall with a huge black and white framed picture in the hall in their office. Kate Beckinsale was there too. They sucked up to me and made me feel special, right? Ha, those same bitches killed me a week later. My dad worshiped those two women and would have done, excuse me, anything they had asked of him. I think they really were trying to kill me. I still do this very day believe that's exactly what they were trying to do. But not a damn thing was wrong with me and I didn't die. Nobody else would have to live through this, what they did to me. I lived through all of it. I remember all of it. I will sue the shit out of. And they got away with all of it. And I'm here to warn them every day of my precious life. So that was the post that she had made. And then Perez Hilton had shared it and obviously has quite a large following. Then he also shared that Britney and him had received a cease and desist from TriStar and Lou Taylor saying that it's defamatory and that the posts need to be removed. So it's like very scary. And then what I thought was really interesting, did you ever see that? You saw the New York Times documentary and like all the Free Britney stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you remember her? Gosh, what was she? She was like a costume designer or something. It was like a girl with long hair and she was speaking. She felt very genuine. So after these posts came out, she posted and she says, Britney, I stand behind the statement 1000% and know for a fact you are absolutely correct. From the way that us moms on tour or residency with you would ask blank if you wanted to come hang, she would say you said absolutely not. I would see you the next day and we would talk about our day off and blank would tell me that you wouldn't remember saying no, so don't bring it up. Not that I would have, but I just knew the way we talked, you didn't say that. It was all a fucking mind game that they loved and enjoyed. That is one out of a million things we know that. I do believe they wanted to kill you too. I swear to it. When we heard you went into that place and none of us could figure out why, I thought I was crazy for having dreams that Blank would call me all proud to tell me that you died in that place, and her "I told you so" voice. Gosh, mama, you're the only person that could make it out alive. You were so strong, and I'm so glad you had Sam and a couple of people that were close enough to you to figure something out with you. I do not understand how anyone is still working with them. They are the worst humans I've ever met, and I do not care if they blacklist me in the industry. I would never want anything to do with them or anyone that associates with them. So, obviously corroborating
Yeah.
these stories. And I saw another post on Instagram that was like, why is someone having to tell the world that she felt not only once but twice that someone's trying to kill her? And it is kind of interesting that, like, why is there, I mean, maybe there is and we just don't know about it, but like, why is TriStar maybe not being investigated a little bit to see like into their actions during this time?
I mean, it seems like Britney's lawyer is kind of on the warpath and he's trying to go after them too. So hopefully they find something and they do continue. It doesn't seem like she wants to stop, and I wouldn't either if I was treated
Well,
that
and
way.
she just signed a $15 million book deal, so it's all coming out. And I mean, I don't know how much she can actually put in there, because like if they're already sending cease and desist for just an Instagram post that she had to remove, I don't know what that means for a book and what she can actually talk about, but I don't know, man. But so I dug into a little bit of Lou Taylor. So I was like, this woman's just interesting to me. And it's all public record, but she has like several LLCs kind of tied to TriStar and herself. And some of the names are really random. Like one of it's like, it's just an enchilada LLC. Like it just seems like these random kind of throwaway things that I don't know what the purpose of that would be. But then she has a couple with Jason Derulo, which I thought was interesting. So like one of them's like a foundation for Haiti. And I went to the website and there's no mention of really either one of them being involved. It's just like this random, like, I think if you're a celebrity or if you have connection to celebrity, you use that for foundations, right? To like gain
or you
money
just have
or
a
notoriety.
foundation to hide money and you're not giving any money away, allegedly. That's shady.
Yeah. So, yeah. And I'm really sad. I didn't realize she also represents Steven Tyler, which bothers me. He's like one of my other favorite humans. And like, God, why? But yeah, she's shady. I hope someone investigates her because something weird is going on there.
Yeah, that's too weird. And we just continue to follow her because I don't know, this house of cards is not going to last much longer.
What do you mean?
Hers. I mean, just how she tried to get Britney in a conservatorship, and then who was the other person that came out? Oh, Kanye, saying that she was trying to put him in a conservatorship, and she just seems too corrupt.
And that's what you're saying too. Remind me, what's the connection with Kim and Lou Taylor? They have business together, or
Lou Taylor is her business manager.
That's insane.
Because she just, remember, Kanye gave her the house, and so she had to sign over the deed, and it was the two people that signed it were Lou Taylor and Kim Kardashian. And Kanye has said that Lou Taylor is, not good, and got Kim in deep with the liberals. You have to like decode everything he says, but yeah, I mean,
I'm just surprised. Like, Kris Jenner is a smart woman. Obviously, she's taken her family into like the bajillions of dollars. So why are they in business with someone so fucking shady? Like, it's so crazy to me.
There's a lot of shady people in Hollywood. Speaking of, this next case is really sad. According to people.com, I don't watch the shows, but SWAT, what is it, on Fox or something?
I have no idea.
This actor, Cather Say, has been accused of supplying drugs that killed the heir to the Bedhead company. And that's a hair care brand, if you don't know.
Just to bring it back really quick. When Brittany and I were like in high school, maybe this brand. So if you don't know, it was like this edgy, like the one of the biggest draws was like their hairspray was called Big Sexy Hair, and it was all about like it's kind of edgy because of the way it was named and packaged, and it was kind of, this is like nostalgic to hear it being talked about.
Totally.
Right
The packaging was so different, and it was a good brand, and man, did they make a lot of money. So 37-year-old Ray Mascolo, son of Bruno and Chiara Mascolo, was found dead in his Beverly Hills apartment in November 2020 after taking what he thought were oxycodone pills that were later confirmed to be laced with fentanyl. Lovely fentanyl. On Thursday, 36-year-old Say was charged in a federal grand jury indictment alleging he was the one that delivered the fatal opiates. So prosecutors claim that the actor was one of 19 drivers who worked for this 33-year-old woman, Mirella Toradova, aka Mimi Snowy. And she was like the orchestrator of a very well-oiled Hollywood drug delivery service, which is common. Celebrities do not go to Skid Row to get drugs. Yeah. They call their drug dealer, and their drug dealer delivers it to them, as we've all seen in movies.
Well, even Demi Lovato's like,
yeah. I mean, that's really how it goes.
She kind of talked about this a little bit.
Yeah.
19 drivers. So wait, sorry, backing up. So 19 drivers, are these all drivers just delivering drugs? Is that what I'm understanding?
Constantly. And it was very well done. According to the indictment, Mimi Snowy provided cell phones and narcotics, including counterfeit oxycodone pills that contained fentanyl, to this actor and other drivers to facilitate the delivery of drugs to customers across LA County and elsewhere. Mimi Snowy also delivered drugs herself, the indictment claims, and gave Say keys to her Hollywood apartment so he could access the drugs. When she would go to Mexico, he would watch her house, and he continued to manage her drug operation and tending to her pet jaguar.
Oh, God.
Princess.
Why do all drug dealers, I feel like, that are at this level have some exotic, crazy animal in their house? It's like,
probably to eat people. I don't know. According to the LA Times, Mascolo texted Mimi Snowy, this is Mascolo, the Bedhead, the son of the Bedhead owners, on November 15th and 16th, asking what she had for sale. She allegedly replied with a menu offering acid for $40, ecstasy for $20, mushrooms for $120, and a half a dozen other drugs. He settled on a gram of cocaine and 2 oxycodone pills for $160 plus a $30 delivery fee. So imagine how much money this woman is raking in. As part of that transaction, Say called Mascolo from a phone that Todorova provided to facilitate the drug sales. And in one of his final texts, Mascolo told Todorova he needed to pick up his 4-month-old daughter the following day. And it was his failure to do so that led to the discovery of his dead body after he OD'd on the fentanyl. Before and after the fatal overdose, other drug customers raised concerns about the authenticity and safety of the oxycodone pills that they were selling. Several weeks before his death, Mascolo's death, according to one example in the indictment, another customer text message to Dorova, "Yo, Mimi, the oxys are dirty." So they knew, and they just continued selling them. No, the DEA told the publication that she made $733,000 last year alone selling drugs. And in an unsuccessful bid for bail, her lawyer insisted she had nothing to do with the death or distribution, claiming her Mexican boyfriend had been using her name and cell phones to disguise his drug dealing business. So she's dumping it all on him, which is always smart. Blame a Mexican drug dealer. Nothing bad will happen.
You're not going to last long, lady.
Yeah. So she has a very well-documented lavish lifestyle on social media. She's the daughter of Bulgarian immigrants who moved to Santa Monica 20 years ago. She holds Bulgarian, Canadian, and American passports. This is like so well done. So the actor that from the SWAT show, he was earning $37.50 an hour, and he would work 8-hour shifts for this Mimi Snowy, according to the DEA. He'd previously had roles on SWAT, Lucifer, Blacklist. I tried to look him up to see like where he was from, what kind of background. I couldn't find anything. Both he and Todorova faced charges of conspiracy to distribute drugs and drug distribution resulting in death, which carry a mandatory minimum sentence of 20 years in federal prison and a maximum sentence of life.
Jesus.
And interestingly, Ray Mascolo, the man who died, who OD'd, his uncles are Tony and Guy Mascolo. So Tony and Guy, this is like a
my God.
Yeah, it's a big hair family. They have an international chain of hairdressing salons, Tony and Guy, which have almost 500 locations across 48 countries. And needless to say, they have endless amounts of money. And I would imagine that they're definitely going to keep this case going. Luckily, they found it and broke it up, but it's so
like
scary.
These things never get really broken up, though. Someone who doesn't get caught, like, just moves.
Oh, they continue.
Like, it's like never stops, but that is wild.
Crazy story, right? And this guy, I mean, he made it. He's on a show, but a lot of people think that. They think like, oh, this person's on a sitcom, they're rich. They could be living in an apartment for all you know. Like you do not get paid well in television when you first start. So,
and not to be, it's also like you're not only you're getting paid okay or whatever, you're like keeping your union, if you will, but you're living in Los Angeles, which is one of the most expensive cities in the world. You know, gas is $5.50 freaking cents a gallon. Like you gotta make ends meet. Like you gotta, and you know, it's a constant keeping up with the Joneses in Los Angeles too. So $40 an hour for 8 hours to like bring in some extra cash. Like I could see the appeal, but
how much is gas in California?
It's like $5.50 for premium.
Wow.
It's insane.
Wow. I remember when it going to $2 was crazy.
I used to put like $20 worth of gas in my car when I was a teenager.
Yeah, me too.
It's like, what the fuck?
That barely gets you to drive out of the gas station. Oh man.
Oh yeah, that's wild. Speaking of Hollywood, kind of, sort of, did you end up watching all of Inventing Anna or not? I can't remember.
I was too annoyed. I couldn't watch it.
Okay. Well, I still follow her and obsessively because I'm just so interested in like what's she gonna do. So obviously she's in ICE still. So she's fighting deportation. She obviously has some sort, I don't know what the rules are, but she has like video calling capabilities because she talks to like Julia Fox, her, and they just came out that they're like good friends, which is bizarre. And she's working on a podcast and she's working on a book and this and that and the other. But anyways, she's obviously got connections to the outside world because she's realized, you know, Inventing Anna has taken off, and she also can see, hear, whatever, that Rachel Deloche Williams, her friend or ex-friend, is having all these interviews, saying all these things, calling Anna like a sociopath, like all this stuff. So Anna, I think, had enough, and she went to Instagram, and I'm just going to not read everything, but I'm going to try and get the highlights. But it's like a 7-part Instagram post, and I'll post these on our website or something so you can see. But it says, I've been silent about this for years. However, over past 2 weeks, watching Rachel stubbornly refuse to move on from her contrived trauma, ever brazen and unchecked, while going on every show that will have her, I thought, now I have to. And if I have to, I will. So here we go. So she said, during her numerous public cries for attention, claiming that Anna ruined her life, Rachel conveniently forgets to mention that she, during the summer of 2018, when she herself was newly acquired literary, when Anna was a newly acquired literary agent, where Rachel was working on a book, essentially, right? She started harassing Anna's lawyer, Todd, via email and by phone to get Anna to agree to write a book together. So Rachel was putting out this book. I forget the name. I think My Friend Anna or something is the name of it. And she kept harassing Anna to like be a part of it with her. And Anna says she has receipts for this. She didn't post any, but she says she has them. And it says, she says, I know it sounds incredible considering Rachel's recent media crusade during which she accuses everyone who isn't aligned with her version of self as wronged martyr, starved from justice, of glorifying crime and giving platform to a con. Can anyone please enlighten me or us whether she's done anything at all over the past 3 years other than talking and writing about me, reading and dissecting my interviews, taking angry notes, and looking for things to get outraged about? Which I have to kind of agree to her. She's like really riding this train like to the bitter end. It's like, you made your book, you made your deals, you did a few interviews, like move on.
It's two narcissists fighting. It's interesting.
It totally is. So she goes on to say that the irony of watching Rachel constantly adjust her very flexible moral standards depending on the amount of money she stands to profit based on the latest twist of the tale of her unfortunate association with me. And then she goes on to say, before she epically embarrassed herself during my trial and before Netflix forever cemented her very accurate total Karen image, her moral compass deemed it acceptable to suggest we write a book together, all while still pressing charges against me. She really thought she could have it all, didn't she? And it goes on and on. But I thought that was very interesting. Like, how are you going to sell this story of what a horrible person she is, but in the same breath, you're begging that person allegedly to be a part of this book? It doesn't really make sense. And you're talking.
It was always shady to me. It was always, what idiot puts their credit card down for some, I always found that whole thing a bit shady, but very interesting. And I'm sure it won't end anytime soon.
No, it's listen, I know these are people's real lives, but it feels like a soap opera, like just watching her Instagram. It's like Kanye. It's like you're just watching it for the next crazy bit to come by.
That's true. That's true.
It's crazy. So that's Miss Anna Delvey's newest update.
Okay. And then I have another update, sad update on the Mathew Coleman case that we covered. There's been new court records released because the FBI agent that was first on the scene was interviewed. And this was the case where Mathew, I believe he was 40 at the time, killed his children ages 10 months and 2 years old in Mexico. According to the affidavit of this FBI agent, he was 40. He told agents that while he was in Mexico, Coleman, before he allegedly murdered his son, Kaleo, 2, and daughter, Roxy, 10 months, he laid in bed, quote, seeing all the pieces being decoded like the Matrix, and that he was Neo. So he was clearly schizophrenic or delusional. He said visions and signs revealed that his wife, Abby, possessed serpent DNA, which we had heard this before, but now it's confirmed. And he also mentioned that he wasn't sure or not if his wife was a shapeshifter and had passed it on to his children, and that all things were pointing to the idea that his children have corrupted DNA that will spread if something is not done about it. Coleman also discussed time travel, teleportation, and that his 2 kids were, quote, telling him about babies being placed in fireworks, food, and walls, end quote. According to the affidavit, Coleman also said his 2-year-old son had told him his wife and a family friend were abusing him and his sister, and that he eventually saw the big picture that he had to kill his children to prevent them from becoming an alien species that would release carnage over the earth. And then finally, the early morning hours after he killed the children, he texted his wife, "Hi, babe, miss you too. Things have been rough, but starting to get some clarity as well. Still confused on a lot of things though, and processing through them. So many crazy thoughts going through my head right now. Hard to explain." This is awful, brutal, really difficult to even think of because he killed his children. But all of that to me is textbook paranoid schizophrenia.
I was
He
just
had a
gonna
break.
say, was going to ask you what you thought about that, because to follow some of these conspiracy theories, like I get that you can kind of fall down these rabbit holes, but for someone I would assume have to have some sort of mental break to like fall down so far that you're like, people were saying that he was checking these sites like incessantly, like always on them, always reading about it. And then it's like spiraling in his behavior. And I feel like that's not everyone, that wouldn't happen with everyone. There has to be something else going on. So
exactly. Yeah. I mean, everybody that follows conspiracy theories is not dangerous in this way and not delusional in this way. Maybe they're not very smart, maybe they're ignorant, but it's not like this. And these thoughts and things, I would be very surprised if he didn't show some sort of sign prior to this, and that people just kind of stuck their head in the sand, didn't want to accept it, or everything's so taboo with mental health. People just, I mean, it's totally changing. I'm so happy about that. But a lot of people will just chalk something up to a bad day, or maybe he's drunk, or maybe he's hungover, something like that. It's like, how about just ask how the person is?
Yeah.
Sometimes if you're really worried about somebody, you don't need to go talk to them. You need to go listen.
Yeah.
And hear what they're saying and see what's going on in their mind. It's really sad. I'm not that I'm saying it's anybody's fault, but I can't imagine this came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I'd be really curious if we're going to hear anything from like, obviously, I don't think she thought this was ever going to happen, but I would be curious, because when you live with someone, you're obviously going to see more potential red flags than your friends that don't live with you, right? And so I'm curious, I would be very curious if she ever comes out and any kind of interviews come out with her, or something that she, even in hindsight, was like, oh shit, he did say this, and this. And
it could be totally understandable. Like, he was on his phone a lot, but I was worried he was cheating. Like, it could be something where she wasn't even thinking of it, because he seemed like he lived a very normal, happy, healthy life. And this is not something you can hide for that long. So anyway, I
feel for her, man. Her kids, that's the worst thing that could ever happen to a human. And then you lose the only other person that could maybe understand what you're going through. Is gone. So it's like she has no one in that sense. I mean, I'm sure she had a family or whatever, but
I can't. I really feel for her. I can't imagine.
God, that case breaks my heart. Quick Ghislaine update. So the juror that we've talked about, juror number 50. So the judge, Nathan, had ordered the unsealing of juror number 50's questionnaire. And of course, the questionnaire was checked no when it was asked if he or a family member had ever been a victim of sexual harassment, sexual abuse, or sexual assault. But prosecutors had argued that a new trial isn't warranted because juror 50 had simply had made a mistake when answering the questionnaire. They noted that he answered truthfully when asked about other topics that might have resulted in his dismissal, including stating that he had read some past coverage about Maxwell and Epstein. And it recently came out that his lawyer came out in a letter on this past Tuesday saying that his client will be invoking his constitutional right against self-incrimination to not answer questions at the March 8th hearing in Manhattan federal court. So he's basically going to trial, but he's already said, I'm taking the 5th. So what I did hear is that him not answering to questions, and I don't know if this is factual or if this is just someone's opinion, but it was saying him taking the 5th gives more, it's more likely she'll get another trial.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
So we're watching, because the shit just, and no one seems to be like, I'm not no one, because there is a group, but like, why is this not more widely being talked about? It's shocking to me, but I mean, I know why, but you know what I mean? It's wild. So that's pretty much it. Did you end up watching the Bill Cosby documentary?
No, I still can't do it. It's too triggering. It's upsetting to me. Plus I watched that whole Playboy thing and that was really upsetting. I need a break before I can watch it.
For anyone who is interested, it is very, very, very well done. It's sad. Like I cried a couple times. Like I almost forgot how much I loved Bill Cosby when I was a kid, and like the Cosby Show, I always watched it. And like,
me too.
You almost don't realize until you're watching this from, they cover like him as a young comedian and like his path. And watching him again, I was like feeling nostalgic. And then you're realizing like, it's never who we thought he was, you know? And then all these weird kind of connections they make through the Cosby Show and like his real life. And it's very, very well done and very interesting, because as the documentary was like wrapping up is when he was released. And so they're capturing things in real time. It's very interesting and very good and just really well done. I think all the people that are a part of it really brought some great perspective and information.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's good. And then there was one other thing you watched, right?
Oh, Swindler. Did you watch it?
Yeah. I watched it. I watched some of it. My husband's way more into it than I am. It's just, I don't have that much compassion. But
I know. I feel like people fall into two brackets, right? Of like these, I mean, not to be, but some people will look at these women and be like, you're an idiot. And like, you know, we don't know what was happening and all that stuff, but I'm just shooketh that he's getting paid thousands upon thousands of dollars in cameo and club appearances. Like, really?
That's what swindlers do. Once a swindler, always. That's the only thing he knows how to do. So he will continue.
I mean, it's interesting. It's only like an hour and a half. It's worth a watch if you haven't watched it, if you want something to watch. But it, oh my God. The other thing I was going to say, I sent it to you. I don't know if you saw it. So we had just been talking about the Pam and Tommy Hulu show, which is like, can't really get into it when there's talking wieners. Like, it's weird. But Pam just came out and announced that she is doing a Netflix documentary about her life.
Oh, yay.
I'm so freaking excited, because that's where I'm interested in too, right? Like, I want to know more about like her side of things, because she did go through this whole sex tape scandal in a very personal level. Like, they were the first ones that this ever really happened to. And like
at the height of her career, she was the most famous woman in the world.
Yeah. So
I don't care about Tommy Lee. Her life is so fascinating. Yeah. I'm ready for that, because I've always really liked her.
And she's always been very quiet and like private after this all happened. So I'm so excited and interested, and I can't wait. So
yeah. Okay. And then in terms of podcasts, I haven't listened to it yet, but Discovery Plus now has a podcast division, and they just started one called The Rise and Fall of LuLaRoe. So
I saw the documentary though. I wonder if it's the same.
Would it be this? But the documentary wasn't on Discovery Plus. It was Hulu.
Oh,
I don't know. Maybe you're right.
I don't know. That's interesting, because it is a very interesting, I mean, it's interesting story.
Yeah. And then if anybody is interested in this case from Texas, I've always been fascinated. The Donut Shop murders. It's never been solved, but they just did a podcast that was really good. And then lastly, I love the Murdaugh Murders podcast, and that's done by Mandy Matney. And just so you know, the first few episodes, she's horrible vocal fry, but she apologizes and it gets better. But she's by far done the best coverage of all the crazy stuff happening in South Carolina with the Murdaughs. It's crazy.
I find myself just being so confused by that, all the people, and that I tuned out. I was like, I can't.
It's so funny. We're like, some things I don't get into and you do. That's why we make the perfect team.
Yes. So things to watch and listen to. But that's pretty much it. We just covered a lot.
Yeah.
But if you want more, you can follow us on all socials at Murder in Retrograde. And that's it. Just come say hi, shout out a little review, share with a friend, just do what you can to support these two ladies in podcasting. All right.
We love you for listening. Thank you. And be safe.
And trust
your gut.
Bye.